Nobody tells you this, but you can follow all the rules, do everything right, and still end up losing. Not in a dramatic way, not in a everything collapsed overnight kind of way. No, it's quieter than that. It's the kind of losing that feels normal. You wake up, you go to work, you pay your bills, you repeat. And from the outside, everything looks fine. You're functioning, you're responsible, you're doing what you're supposed to do. But inside, something feels off. Not broken, just wrong. Like you're stuck in a life that technically works, but doesn't actually go anywhere. And the worst part? You can't even explain it properly. Because on paper, you did everything right. You went to school, you sat through classes you didn't care about, you memorized things you knew you'd forget. You followed instructions, because that's what you were told to do. Study hard now so you can have a better life later. So you did. You sacrificed time, energy, sleep. You stayed focused while everyone else was distracted, because you believed it would pay off. That one day, all of this effort would translate into something meaningful, something stable, something worth it. Then you graduated, and for a moment, it felt like you made it. You crossed the finish line. Or at least, that's what it felt like. But no one told you the truth. That wasn't the finish line. That was just the starting point of a completely different race. Now you're in the real world, and suddenly, everything is your responsibility. Your rent, your food, your bills, your future. There's no structure anymore. No clear path, just expectations, unspoken ones, heavy ones. So you get a job, because that's the next step, right? That's what you've been working toward. A stable income, a sense of security. And at first, it feels good. Your first paycheck hits, and you think, okay, this is it. This is progress. But then, reality starts to settle in. You look at your paycheck, then you look at your expenses, rent, food, transportation, subscriptions you forgot to cancel, unexpected costs that show up out of nowhere. And suddenly, that number you were so proud of doesn't feel that big anymore. Weeks go by, then months, and you start noticing a pattern. Money comes in, money goes out. Every single time. No matter how careful you are, no matter how disciplined you try to be, it just disappears. You're not reckless, you're not irresponsible, you're not out here making terrible decisions. So why does it feel like you're barely moving forward? That's when the confusion starts, because this wasn't supposed to happen. You did what they told you. You followed the path. You made the right choices. So why does it feel like you're stuck? And here's where it gets uncomfortable, because the problem might not be you. Think about it. You were given a formula, a simple one. Study hard, get a good job, work consistently, build a stable life. That's the blueprint. That's the promise. But what if that formula is outdated? What if it worked before, but doesn't work the same way anymore? Because look around. Everything is getting more expensive. Rent keeps rising. Food prices don't go down. Basic living costs are increasing faster than your income ever will. And your salary? It might increase, but slowly, painfully slowly. And even when it does, it doesn't feel like a win. Because by the time your income goes up, your expenses have already caught up. So you're stuck in this cycle. Earning more, but not actually gaining anything. Working harder, but not getting ahead. And that's the part no one prepared you for, because no one told you that you could be doing well and still feel like you're falling behind. This is the middle zone, not broke enough to panic, not free enough to breathe. And this is where most people stay, for years, sometimes decades, because it's comfortable enough to survive, but restrictive enough to keep you in place. You start adjusting, cutting back on small things, skipping things you enjoy, trying to be more efficient, more disciplined, more careful. And it helps. A little, but not enough to change your life. Because the truth is, you're playing defense in a game that rewards offense. You're trying to save your way out of a system that's designed to keep you spending. And that's the trap. It's not obvious. It doesn't feel like a trap because nothing is forcing you. You're just slowly realizing that no matter how hard you try, you're not getting anywhere meaningful. And that realization, that's heavy. Because now the question changes. It's no longer, how do I work harder? It becomes, why isn't this working at all? And once that question enters your mind, you can't ignore it anymore. You start noticing things, patterns, contradictions, like how people who earn more aren't necessarily happier or freer, like how success looks different than you imagined, less exciting, more exhausting, like how everyone seems to be doing okay, but no one feels secure. And slowly, you start questioning everything: the job, the system, the path you've been following your entire life. Not in a rebellious way, not in a dramatic I quit everything kind of way, but in a quiet, internal shift where you start to realize maybe this isn't it. Maybe this isn't the life you were supposed to build. Or maybe this is exactly the life you were told to build. And that's the difference. Because there's a version of success that was designed for you. And there's a version of success that was sold to you. And most people never question the difference. They just follow, step by step, year by year, until one day they wake up and realize they've built a life that looks right, but feels completely wrong. And by then, it's harder to change, because now there are responsibilities, commitments, expectations, things that keep you where you are. So you stay, not because you want to, but because leaving feels risky. And that's how the system sustains itself, not by forcing you, but by making sure you're just comfortable enough to never walk away. And here's the hardest truth of all. You didn't fail. You just played a game where the rules were never fully explained, and the goalposts keep moving, and the definition of winning keeps changing. So what do? That's the question, right? Because once you see this, you can't go back to not seeing it. You can't just blindly follow the same path, hoping for a different result. You become aware, and awareness is uncomfortable, because now you have a choice. You can keep playing the same game, same routine, same expectations, or you can start questioning it. Not quitting everything overnight, not making reckless decisions, but thinking differently. Looking at your life and asking, is this actually working for me? Not for society, not for expectations, not for appearances, but for you. Because at the end of the day, this isn't about money. Not really. It's about control. Control over your time, your energy, your direction. And right now, most people don't have that. They have structure, they have income, they have responsibilities, but control? That's limited. And maybe that's why it feels the way it does. Not because you're doing something wrong, but because you're living in a system that was never designed to give you full control. Only enough to keep you going. And once you understand that, everything starts to make more sense. Not easier, but clearer. And clarity is where change begins. Not instant change, not dramatic change, but intentional change. Small shifts, different decisions, new perspectives. Because you don't need to have everything figured out. You just need to stop blindly following a path that isn't working anymore. And maybe that's the real starting point. Not the one they told you about, but the one you discover when you finally start asking the right questions. And maybe, for the first time, you're not behind. You're just awake.